Hello everyone, and welcome to a Minecraft showcase video where I will be creating a village and a pillage raid farm. In case you are not in the know, this is a pillager outpost, and the pillager variety of illager with the crossbow can spawn in the area around it. Occasionally, one of those that spawn will have this banner above its head, and if you kill this pillager, you will get the bad omen effect. This status effect will last with you until you enter a village. If you then enter a village with the bad omen status effect, you will start a raid. And a raid will spawn groups of villagers outside the village that will come in and attack all of the villagers, and your job is to protect them. These raids bring with them vindicators that will drop emeralds. Evokers will be a part of the raid, meaning that you can actually farm totems of undying. And when you have successfully defended the villagers will throw fireworks up into the sky, and you'll be gifted with the hero of the village effect, which lasts for 2 days, as well as putting these annoying green fart bubbles in your face. This effect will give you reduced prices on trades with villagers. You can see it's gone from 22 down to 16. They will also throw items and blocks at you when you win a raid. This is another reason we're making this a raid farm. It means that we can farm all of the items that you see right here. These are the rewards from the villagers, and I have more on that later on in the video. So now we are going to build a farm to exploit these mechanics, and I'm doing it in a regular Minecraft world. So on the screen will be the seed, if you want to play in the same world, and the coordinates of this location as well. To start building this farm, we need to get the coordinates of this illager outpost, which is why I'm standing on top of it, so we can press F3 and get the coordinates of its location. So we take these numbers, divide them by 512, and then we get loads of decimals, which we simply ignore, and we're left with the numbers 10 and 11. Then we shall exit the world, select it here in the menu, click Edit, and then open the world folder. With this opened, we navigate inside a region, and those two numbers, 10 and 11, we're looking for R.10.11. And there it is. We're going to open this with MBT Explorer, which will allow us to look at all the information inside of the world save. And a quick note, we are now looking for these two numbers, 334 and 372. And there it is, 334, 372. We can open this up and learn more about this area of the world. There is a folder in here called Structures, and if we go deeper in, we'll find the Pillager Outpost, and then we have all sorts of information. If we double click this though, it will give us the actual coordinates of the bounding box. So this is where the illagers are able to spawn inside of. That space is 71 blocks across in each direction and 53 blocks tall, which is absolutely massive. I've made the perimeter here out of barrier blocks, and you can get a sense of just how big this area is. To get an even better perspective on how massive this is, I've used white stained glass. We can even go under the ground here and see how big the area below the ground is where they can spawn. And that's right, I've now cleared out all of the blocks on the inside because we're going to be using this space to create a farm. And I know what you're thinking, Xisuma, you have been using cheaty creative mode. Well, we're going to do this in a way where it speeds it up for me to show you how this is done, and it is still entirely possible in survival Minecraft. Now, if you're looking forward to this farm and you're not subscribed to the channel and you want more content like this, then you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button, and while you're down there, hit the like button as well. It supports the channel, and I thank you for that. And now let's jump back right into it and build this farm. So the first step for getting these pillagers to spawn is to create a perimeter around this area. That means removing other spaces where mobs can potentially spawn, which is what we've done right here. This is a bit excessive and over the top, so let me give you a quick crash course in how this works. So I want you to use your imagination and picture an invisible sphere around the player that's 128 blocks across. Obviously that's much larger than where I've placed these blocks, but these are here to give you a rough idea of where mobs can spawn because it is relative to the player. So inside of this imaginary sphere is where mobs can spawn. We're going to pretend that this is the player, and if we take a step back, you'll see that mobs can't really spawn anywhere in the world because it's too high up above the ground. So then if we had platforms or spawning spaces in this area, the mobs would be able to spawn here. So let's imagine that this is our pillager outpost, and we've got this land here where mobs are able to spawn. Underground there's going to be caves and stuff that need lighting up, so either you need to go around and torch the entire area, or you can alternatively remove all the blocks so nothing will spawn there. So the closer to the farm the player is, the bigger the area down below is going to be, and the higher up into the sky we go, the less of this clearing out we have to do around the Pillager Outpost. So this perimeter is overkill, but I've done it this way to make my life easier and to show you the principle in action. So let's make all of these pillagers inside of the farm glow. As you can see, there isn't really that many of them, and that's because we're standing close to these areas over here. So when we go up above into the sky, we get many more spawning on this platform, and that is of course the area around us is mostly just air blocks, which means that the player will have to stand up the top here. So now we're going to work on getting the mobs off of that platform and up to the player. So we are trying to achieve this. We want to lure the pillagers into a water stream that sends them all the way up to where the player is. And the way that we're going to do that is with a villager who is trapped inside of a cell like this. If I press F3 and B, we can see their hitbox, and it is the eye level here that the other mobs are going to be looking at this villager at. So in this configuration, they can see the villager. Let's summon in some pillagers, and you'll see that they start to shoot at this fella. And a big problem is that they can hit the villager when it's inside this cage. Now there are two blocks that can manipulate where the pillager wants to move, and it's going to want to move to a range it can shoot the villager at. So if I put down a couple blocks of water here, we create a sort of perimeter. If I summon in some pillagers over on this side, you're going to see that they walk all the way around over to this side where they're close enough to shoot the villager. The other block that does this is the magma block. As you'll see, the pillagers here will walk all the way around the edge to get close enough to shoot the villager. And the final component of this trickery is to convince the pillagers to walk into a trap. This one is going to walk over those trapdoors and also on the magma block, but if we open the trapdoors, the pillager won't know the difference. So now when it walks across them, let's try again, now when it walks across them, it actually falls down into the hole. And it is with a combination of all of these factors that we are able to create a hub in the middle here that has villagers to lure in the pillagers. It has the right layout of water and magma blocks to stop any of these pillagers from actually shooting those villagers in the middle, no matter how many of them there are. Let's get an absolute ton of them in this area, and you'll see that all of them are going to end up in the trap we've created out the front here. Let's have a closer look at this design. In the middle we have the water elevator that is going to bring our pillagers upwards. On the other side of the glass we have the holding frames for the villagers. There are trapdoors here so that water source blocks can be in this space and that space there, and we use a daylight sensor to stop the water source going into the corner here. That allows our trap here to be at the correct distance from the villager and the water to flow over to this spot with magma blocks on the side. Without this correct configuration, it is actually possible for the pillagers to get caught over on the corner here and then shoot towards the villagers, which we absolutely don't want. The gates here are simply to hold back the water, and the arrangement of trapdoors is different from what I showed you a moment ago. This is how the pillager will look at it. They'll look like they're going to drop down a block and then climb back up again, but these are of course open trapdoors. Now the reason that we do it like this is because if we have a trapdoor here, it is possible for the pillager to sometimes stand on the edge and then they will stay here and shoot at the villager, but otherwise they will fall down a block and continue walking, and now we've got to get them into the water stream. These pillagers up here are a sign that this is working. We're going to create some more. They're going to drop down into my water stream that just has one floor at the moment that I can spot. So as you might expect, the water will push them from either side down the middle here. And we switched to glass panes so that we don't ever end up with two villagers bumping into each other in the middle and not being able to go through this space. So this is what it looks like from the side. Down the bottom here we have fence posts to push the villagers up, so as they nudge each other they're able to slip on top of the soul sand block. And of course this is going to be repeated from all sides, so from all directions they will compete to go into this space here, which is why we've switched to using glass panes. You can see clearly from up here that it gives them more space around the outsides here, and that just makes it so much easier for them to get inside that water stream and head upwards. Now this has also created a space here down the side, so I've gone and modified this so that there is a trapdoor where the villager is standing, and that'll stop it from wandering into this space. So the floor I mentioned is simply this. The first one to come down here doesn't actually go into the stream until another one nudges it along. Hopefully I'll find a way to fix that as I copy this design around to the other three sides. Unfortunately, I didn't figure anything out, so we're stuck with this inefficiency for now. Maybe I'll come back and revise it later. They are still able to make their way all the way up here to the top though, so that is fantastic. But we have another problem. If I hover directly above the middle here, you'll see two of them walking inwards, but some of them are in the outside areas and they're not coming into the middle. Now this is because when they spawn, there's a certain range at which they can track the villagers, and what we need to do now is figure that out and then stop them spawning in the places where they don't move towards the villagers. And there we have it. As you can see, lots of pillagers are inside of our trap now, so let's go ahead and kill them, and then we can more effectively see them spawn and then make their way to the middle. Now the distance from the trapdoors to the edge is about 22 blocks on each side, and then there's an almost circular shape wrapping around, and wherever they spawn, they will make their way into the trap. So the pillagers make their way up the water stream, they get pushed across, and then they fall down by 24 blocks and they land on top of hoppers so that we can kill them and collect their drops. Now the real thing that we want here is just to kill the one with the banner. This sword has sweeping edge on it, so that means that we will get the bad omen effect from the pillager with the banner even if we don't kill it directly. And so here we can now farm ourselves illager banners and crossbows as well. The next step for us is to take the bad omen effect to the village, and you can see over there that there is a nether portal, and we have a nether portal over here. This is the best way to get into the village. If you were to use a minecart and rails, which is what I originally did, the bad omen effect will set it off as soon as you arrive at the village, and that's bad because the raid happens around the location of the player. So here in the nether, a long journey becomes short. We just got a tunnel between two portals, and this one here takes us to the village. And when we come through, we are in the very center of the village. Now, something rather important to mention at this point is that the raid happens based on the player's location. So technically, we don't really need this portal to be at the center of the village, but just for the sake of simplicity, that's what I'm going to do. And let's quickly experiment. I don't know exactly what constitutes a village, so I've got 5 workstations, 5 beds. Let's start off with one villager here and see if we're going to make our own village. Okay, so I give myself the bad omen effect, and the raid starts. So, literally all you need is one villager, a bed, and one workstation, and you got yourself a village. And here comes the raid party. Now, this is important. They are not going to spawn closer than 32 blocks towards where the player is. So back here in the village, the player is going to come through the portal and be in the center of where I have built a defensive wall. This is a circular shape. It is a 31 block perimeter, and that means that the raiding parties will always be on the outside, and with a wall in their way, we'll be able to funnel them into a trap. And now I'm wondering, what will happen if we have a village over here where we actually get the bad omen effect? It has started a raid. I wonder where on earth they're going to spawn. Interesting. I think they spawn down here on the grass, and they're not abiding by the usual mechanisms of this trap because they are targeting the villager up top. So having a villager up there breaks this down here. Notice how the raid bar at the top is slowly changing as I kill all of these pillagers. It starts to replenish, and I believe that's because it's including all of these naturally generating pillagers inside of the raid party, which means that this idea unfortunately isn't going to work out. So I'm currently experimenting with the pathfinding of the packs that will spawn outside this radius, and their pathfinding isn't very promising. I've got 4 openings here, but they always get stuck on the outside, it would seem. So let's check out where this pack go. Okay, the Ravenger is pathfinding its way in, but look at the rest of these. They just get stuck on a corner, so this isn't the way to do it. We need another method here. So this here may look like a raid gone wrong. The villagers are under siege, but this is actually a successful test because the village and the player that started this raid are all the way down here at the bottom of the world, and yet the illagers and pillagers and vindicators, they all spawned up the top here, and that is going to be very useful to us. Well, it turns out that the raiding parties always get summoned on the surface. So this means that we never really needed a village, we never really needed to build this perimeter, and all you need is a trap like this. It's not finished yet, but if we summon in some villagers and some vindicators, all of these will track the villager in the middle eventually. But what they do is they rush all the way in, and they never shoot and actually hit the villager. So this allows us to lure them into a water trap, where they get sent down another one of these funnels made out of glass panes, and then there'll be one hit kill when they arrive at the bottom. And so from down here we now have a bunch of these fellas ready to be killed. As you can see, they're one hit kill, and then we'll be able to collect all of their drops inside this chest. So what is the problem? The problem is the Ravenger. This thing is going to go to the middle, but then it's going to be stuck here, and it can actually hit the villager. Yikes. So we need to stop it from getting that close and find a way to kill it. So it turns out we never needed a villager in the middle. The raiding parties will come in and they will head to the center of the village, which we can define down at the very bottom by adding a bed in and amongst our villagers. So up here we now have a larger pool of water. This is because the witches like to hang back from the very center, so you need this bigger area in order to capture them. They will get sent to the center, and quite often they hit their heads on the lava, at which point they will drink a fire resistance potion. Now when it comes to the evokers, the pillagers and the vindicators, they're far less likely to hit their head on the lava because they start to sink downwards where the glass panes end, but it can happen, and because of that what we're going to do is raise our platform up at the bottom. But obviously this is in place for the Ravenger. It can't go down the hole, it gets stuck right here inside of the lava, and it does take it a long time to get killed, but this is an effective way to get rid of it. As you can see, we have won a raid, and this means that villagers will throw us gifts. So below the platform the mobs land on, they will throw their gifts to me, the player, but they will just land on the hoppers and collect in the chest over here. So that's why we have a whole bunch of workstations in this area to give them all jobs. There are 26 workstations, 26 villagers. You could have even more of them in there if you liked, and then you would get more treats from completing raids. And there it is. A little while later they throw items at me, they get collected in the hoppers and gathered down here. So I believe that we are now looking at a completed product, and I do actually want to run this in time-lapse form so you can see the farm in action. But first of all, let's talk about all the loot you're going to be able to get from these villagers and from the other mobs that are a part of the raid. The Witch will drop all of these items. The Vindicator and the Evoker drop emeralds. This one also drops the totem of Undying, of course. And then the Ravenger, when destroyed by lava, will actually drop its saddle into the water and thus down to the bottom. So now let's go through all of the villagers and the gifts that they will throw you after the raid has been completed. This is the Armourer, the Butcher, the Cartographer, the Cleric, the Farmer, the Fisherman. The Fletcher will give you an arrow, and also all of these types of arrow that have status effects with them. This is the Leatherworker, the Librarian, the Mason. Yes, this is a way to farm clay. The Shepherd can give you any colour of wool. The Toolsmith and the Weaponsmith. And so with the loot out of the way, the next course of action is to see the farm itself in action. I had Bad Omen level 5 for that. We should have got more waves. I don't know why we didn't, but I'm not complaining because building this farm has been so much fun. One little important modification, down here you got to make sure that the villagers can see you, otherwise they don't chuck their prizes at you. So, quick recap. We have this fantastic farm to capture pillagers and get the Bad Omen effect. We can then use the Nether for fast transport to the location of our second farm. And upon arrival to this area with the Bad Omen effect, we will start the raids. And they will be centered around this villager here who's standing on top of the bed. That is the center of the village. And then the raiding parties get caught in our trap in the middle. I think this could be slightly better. the lava mechanism damages some of the other mobs, which occasionally kills them. So maybe there's room for improvement here. And then down at the bottom we can claim all sorts of goodies by killing these mobs with a looting sword. And then you get rewards from the villagers. Of course, you can put far more than the 26 I put here. You may have also noticed there are leads in here. Let me explain where those came from. Because there is a village here, you will occasionally see a trading wanderer and 2 of its llamas come into the area. The thing is though, they head towards the centre of the village and they fall victim to this trap. And the only thing you get are the leads, because when this thing spawns in naturally, it has the llamas leashed to it. Well, that was a lot of fun. If you enjoyed this video, then please do leave a like. It supports the channel. I thank you for doing that. Of course, make sure you're subscribed as well. And if you've done all of those things and you're looking for some more Minecraft 1.14 action, then check out the showcase playlist in the description box down below. That's it from me this video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.